Introduction. The American Revolution was a chain of events among the Americans and British that gradually ended up into a chronological chain of events, battles that results into a revolution. Here are 15 major events that lead up to the American Revolution. There were many events that started the revolution. However, a major event that indicates the grand scheme of things, which is mercantism. Mercantism is a system that involved a competition between countries to acquire the most gold, silver, and valuables. While we're on the topic of trade in valuables and goods, in the mid-1600s colonists exported an abundance of raw materials and goods to England. And in return, colonists bought and manufactured goods. Colonial markets were overjoyed by the opportunity to increase their wealth. Eventually, this led to a series of laws restricting colonial trade known as the Navigation Act. The French and Indian War was a confrontation between the French and British. This was the first major war between those two countries for the control over North America. The British won the war, but they spent so much money that they had to raise taxes in the colonies. The British were angered by defeat. In result, King George selected William Pitt to command. After that, the British tipped the scales and started winning battles consecutively. On top of this, after the war, British government stationed 10,000 troops to control the Native Americans. This army was intended to protect the colonists, but the colonists saw this as a possible assault. The troops were an added expense on an already heavy budget. Due to this, the British borrowed money, which doubled their national debt. This is where the Sugar Act came into play. The Sugar Act was a very important event that contributed to a revolution, along with the following: the Stamp Act, Townshend Act, and of course the infamous Boston Massacre. The Boston Massacre was when 9 or so British soldiers shot into an unruly mob that had assaulted them a day prior to this shooting. 4 Boston colonists were killed. John Adams defended the British soldiers. The Boston Tea Party was a major event that occurred because the British left the tax on tea, and this made the colonists angry, so they decided to revolt in a specific way. They dumped all of the tea. Let's push this aside for now. Let's skip ahead. Eventually, colonies in Britain began to split apart when new British policies were enrolled. This caused colonies, specifically Massachusetts, the new policies made the colonists outraged. Congress was readying the colonies for war. However, they also wanted peace. On July 8, 1775, the Congress sent the King the Olive Branch petition, ordering a return to former harmony between Britain and the colonies. However, King George declined the petition.